Welcome to Awakened Stories, where ancient parables from Osho's 1001 Tales are brought to life, one story at a time. I'm your host, Priya. Today we're diving into an explainer that completely flips our understanding of wealth and ambition on its head. If you've ever chased a massive goal, finally hit it, and then instantly felt, well, kind of empty, this one is absolutely for you. We're looking at a fascinating historical encounter that forces us to look right at the true nature of human desire. Let's just jump right into the central, jarring paradox of this story. What if the absolute richest person you know is actually the greatest beggar? I know, it sounds totally contradictory, right? Like, how could someone with endless resources be begging? But this ancient Sufi story answers that exact question. And it's going to ask us to look way past the bank accounts and the status symbols, straight into the actual state of a person's mind. Now, if you were with us for our last explainer, you might remember we talked about the coat, right? About the danger of being mistaken for the things we wear and the titles we carry. Well, today's story goes even deeper into that. It asks a much more uncomfortable question. What happens when the person wearing the most magnificent, expensive robes in the entire world is actually begging on the inside? And that brings us to the two main characters of our story. It's a brilliant, really sharp contrast. On one side, we have Farid. He's a village mystic, a guy living in absolute poverty, but with this immense inner fullness. In fact, he hasn't asked for anything in a really, really long time. On the other side, we've got Emperor Akbar. At this point in history, Akbar is literally the wealthiest ruler in the Mughal Empire. Absolute power, unimaginable wealth. Two men operating at completely opposite extremes of the human experience. So here's the setup, and it honestly has a bit of gentle comedy to it. The people in Farid's village are struggling, right? They desperately need a favor from the emperor. And because Farid is so highly respected, the villagers beg him to go petition Akbar for help. Just think about the irony for a second. They are taking a mystic, a guy who has basically forgotten how to ask for things, and forcing him to play the reluctant errand boy. He only agrees because he has such deep compassion for his village. Okay, picture his arrival at the palace, because the visual contrast here is just stunning. Farid walks up to these massive gates in actual rags, and the heavily armed guards instantly bow to him. They know exactly who he is. The heavy doors swing open, and he just strolls through corridors absolutely dripping with gold and jewels and insane luxury. But he walks past it all like it's just plain dirt. It doesn't faze him at all. Finally, he reaches the emperor's private inner shrine. Akbar is in the middle of a prayer, so Farid respectfully stands back. He waits, and he listens. This is the crucial moment. What does Farid overhear while standing in that quiet, sacred room? He listens to the emperor's prayer. And what is the wealthiest, most powerful man in the known world actually asking God for? He's begging for a bigger empire. He's asking for more riches. He literally has everything a human being could possibly accumulate, and he is on his knees begging for more. This right here is the pivot of the whole story, and we really need to just let the sheer shock of this moment breathe. Farid doesn't interrupt, he doesn't yell, he doesn't launch into some moralizing lecture. He just hears this prayer, turns his back, and without uttering a single word, he walks out of the shrine, out of the palace, away from all the gold. His silence in that moment is just so much louder than anything he could have said. Section 9. The confrontation, naming the paradox aloud. So that sudden movement catches the emperor's attention. Akbar finishes up, calls the mystic back, and asks why he's leaving empty-handed. Akbar is totally confused. He knows the village sent Farid to ask for a favor. Farid just looks at him with this profound, piercing honesty and says, "I came to meet an emperor, but I found here also a beggar. Why should I ask a beggar to help my village? You don't even have enough for yourself." Wow, it is incredibly sharp, but also deeply compassionate. And the impact? Massive. In fact, Akbar's own historical autobiography notes that this exact confrontation permanently changed something inside him. Now, this isn't just some neat piece of historical trivia. It's a really profound look at what the source material calls the beggar's mind. It's the psychological trap where an intense feeling of inner lack just stays with you, totally regardless of what you've accumulated on the outside. If your mind is constantly asking for more, no matter how much money, status, or success you've already banked, you're operating with a beggar's mind. You're completely trapped in a state of poverty, even if you are literally surrounded by gold. To really bring this down to earth, let's look at what the modern beggar's bowl looks like, because we all hold one. Think about that salary raise you fought so hard for. A month later, it just feels like your normal income, right? And you're already calculating the next bump. Or a major achievement, a promotion, a new house. It instantly just becomes your new baseline. Honestly, I do this all the time. I'll reach a goal, and before I've even unpacked my bags at the destination, I'm already frantically looking at the map for the next place to go. The moment of arrival immediately generates a brand new wanting. And that brings us to a harsh, but honestly liberating truth. We constantly fall for the illusion that if we just get that next thing, that next job, that next purchase, the wanting will finally stop. We tell ourselves, okay, once I have that, then I'll be satisfied. But here's the reality. The bowl is fundamentally unfillable. The wanting doesn't stop when you get the thing, because the problem isn't a lack of things. The problem is the mind itself. The bowl doesn't fill. That is just the nature of the bowl.
Now, I want to be super clear here, because this is an absolutely crucial distinction from Osho's teachings. This story is not here to shame us for wanting things. It's not some rigid, austere lecture telling you to throw away all your stuff and go live in a cave. Not at all. It's actually a compassionate call for self-awareness. It's an invitation to notice when that beggar's mind takes over, and a simple reminder to just want less, to find the richness in what you already have, instead of constantly agonizing over what you don't.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, provocative question to chew on today. Where in your life is the beggar's bowl showing up right now? Is it in your career, your finances, your relationships? Where are you acting like Emperor Akbar, surrounded by absolute abundance, yet secretly on your knees begging for more? Take a moment today to just recognize your own beggar's bowl, acknowledge it, and then see if you can put it down. Thank you so much for joining me for this awakened story. And remember, want less.